Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankaja Nabhaya Nama Pankaja Maline Nama Pankaja Netraya Namaste Pankajangrahe. Welcome to today's Bhagavatam discussion. We're reading from Canto 3, which is the status quo, Chapter 24, which is the renunciation of Kardama Muni. And we are going to be reading texts 9 and 10. So we'll start with 9. Tat Kardama Shrama Padam Sarasvatya Parishritam Swayambhu Sakham Rishibhir Marichi Adibhir Abhyaya. Synonyms: Tat, that, Kardama, of Kardama, Ashrama Padam, to the place of the hermitage, Sarasvatya, by the river Saraswati, Parishritam, surrounded, Swayambhu, Brahma, the self-born, Sakam, along with Rishibhi, the sages, Marichi, the great sage Marichi, Adibhi, and others, Abhyayat, he came there. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Brahma, the first-born living being, went along with Marichi and other sages to the place of Kardama's hermitage, which was surrounded by the river Saraswati. Purport: Brahma is called Swayambhu because he is not born of any material father or mother. He is the first living creature and is born from the lotus which grows from the abdomen of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Therefore, he is called Swayambhu or self-born. We'll read text 10 as well. Bhagavantam param brahma satvenam shena shatruhan tatva sankyana vikyapti jatam vidvanaja swarat. Word for word: Bhagavantam, the Lord, Param, supreme, Brahma, Brahman, Satvena, having an uncontaminated existence, Amshena, by the plenary portion, Shatruhan, O killer of the enemy, Vidura, Tattva Sankhya, Tattva Sankhyana, the philosophy of the 24 material elements, Vigyapti, for explaining, Jatam, appeared, Vidwan, knowing, Ajah, the unborn Lord Brahma, Swarat, independent. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Maitreya continued, O killer of the enemy, the unborn Lord Brahma, who is almost independent in acquiring knowledge, could understand that a portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his quality of pure existence, had appeared in the womb of Devahuti, just to explain the complete state of knowledge known as Sankhya Yoga. Purport: in Bhagavad Gita, 15th chapter, it is stated that the Lord himself is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra and is the perfect knower of the Vedanta Sutra. Similarly, the Sankhya philosophy is compiled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his appearance as Kapila. There is an imitation Kapila who has a Sankhya philosophical system. But Kapila, the incarnation of God, is different from that Kapila. Kapila, the son of Kardama Muni, in his system of Sankhya philosophy, very explicitly explained not only the material world, but also the spiritual world. Brahma could understand this fact because he is Swarat, almost independent in receiving knowledge. He is called Swarat because he did not go to any school or college to learn, but learned everything from within. Because Brahma is the first living creature within this universe, he had no teacher. His teacher was the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, who is seated in the heart of every living creature. Brahma acquired knowledge directly from the Supreme Lord within the heart. Therefore, he is sometimes called Swarat and Aja. Another important point is stated here, Satvenam Shena. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, he brings with him all his paraphernalia of Vaikuntha. Therefore, his name, his form, his quality, his paraphernalia, and his entourage all belong to the transcendental world. Real goodness is in the transcendental world. Here in the material world, the quality of goodness is not pure. Goodness may exist, but there must also be some tinges of passion and ignorance. In the spiritual world, the unalloyed quality of goodness prevails. There, the quality of goodness is called Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. Another name for Shuddha Sattva is Vasudev, because God is born from Vasudeva. Another meaning is that when one is purely situated in the qualities of goodness, he can understand the form, name, quality, paraphernalia, and entourage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word Amshena also indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appeared as Kapil Dev in a portion of his portion. God expands either as Kala or as Amsha. Amsha means direct expansion, and Kala means expansion of the expansion. There is no difference between the expansion of the expansion, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly, as there is no difference between one candle and another. But still, the candle from which the others are lit is called the original. Krishna is therefore called Parabrahman, or the ultimate Godhead and cause of all causes. A very elaborate purport by Prabhupada. It will say the Mangalacharan prayers to invoke auspiciousness. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Saktajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Patan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Patni Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhaiva Cha Patitanam Papanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivashadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Welcome, dear devotees, to this morning's Bhagavatam discussion. Before I start, I seek the blessings of my Guru and all of the assembled devotees, other devotees that will listen to this in the future, that I may speak something of some value. So here we are hearing that Brahma, who is the first born living entity in this universe, has come to Kardama Muni's hermitage. And so why has he come? So if you go back a little bit, we heard that, just as the title of the chapter states, the renunciation of Kardama Muni. Kardama Muni was actually ready and about to leave his household after his good wife, Devahuti, Mother Devahuti, had given birth to 9 daughters. Now, Mother Devahuti, on understanding that Kardama Muni wants to leave, starts to really regret tremendously that while her husband was around in his association, he had not done enough to attain liberation from birth and death. But rather, at least in her mind, she had focused more on the material aspects of the Grihastha ashram and in enjoyment with her husband. Of course, that was not completely true, and she had been serving Kardama Muni for thousands, so many years. So Kardama Muni pacifies her and tells her that, don't worry, you're an elevated, person, and focus on worshiping the Lord, and the Lord Himself is going to come to enter your womb and come to you as your son. And He is going to teach you the highest knowledge of Brahman. And by doing so, He's going to vanquish the knot in Devahuti's heart. So after that, Kardama Muni postpones his plan to leave. And Devahuti takes Kardama Muni's instructions very seriously and starts worshipping the Supreme Lord for many years. And then, after many, many years, the Lord appears in Devahuti's womb. And it's stated that through Kardama Muni's semen. So, as the Lord is, descending upon the earth, all the celestial beings, throughout the universe start to sing and dance in joy, and they start showering flowers. And as we heard in today's verse, Brahma also appears, right? So that kind of tells us that, glorification of the appearance of the Lord is kind of a universal, occasion, right, for celebration. In fact, we've seen in the, from other events, other times when the Lord descended as well, that His associates, the demigods, the Gandharvas, other celestial personalities, all come to celebrate. Like when Krishna himself appeared to Mother Devaki, we heard about that. In fact, in one of the lectures, I was hearing that I think it was an inaugural ceremony of in South London, and Prabhupada was there, and Gaur Arati was going on, and the devotees were like dancing and singing, in great ecstasy. And then Prabhupada told one of his disciples, "Did you see? Did you see?" So the devotee asked, "What, Prabhupada?" And Srila Prabhupada said, "Did you see? Brahma and Narad were here to join in the celebrations." The devotee said, "No, Prabhupada, we did not see." So Prabhupada said, "No, oh, they were here." And so I believe that in the Soho temple in South London, there are 2 small Vyasasans on the side of the altar, that are kept for Narad Muni and Brahma when they visit. So, that's basically how it is when the Lord appears, right? In fact, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born, there's a really sweet exchange between Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi. So if you can see, I'll quickly read through just the translations, starting from text 80. In the month of January, in the year 1406 of the Shaka era, AD 1485, Lord Krishna entered the bodies of both Jagannath Mishra and Shachi. Jagannath Mishra said to Shachi Mata, I see wonderful things. Your body is effulgent, and it appears as if the goddess of fortune were now staying personally in my home. Anywhere and everywhere I go, all people offer me respect, even without my asking. They voluntarily give me riches, clothing, and paddy. Shachimata told her husband, I see wonderfully brilliant human beings appearing in outer space, as if offering prayers. This is just 500 years ago, right? Jagannath Mishra then replied, in a dream, I saw the effulgent abode of the Lord enter my heart. And from my heart, it entered into your heart. I therefore understand that a great personality will soon take birth. So, that's how it was, right? And I've heard in some lectures that the people that Jagannath Mishra was talking about, that were offering him respects and giving him gifts, were actually beings from other planets and other celestial beings that came in the form of human to celebrate and and to offer their prayers. So whenever the Lord appears, right, for the pleasure of his devotee, Paritranaya Sadhunam, there is celebration. Let's see. So another, actually, one quick example is when Jesus Christ was born, right? It is said that there were 3 wise men that came from the east with gifts. And in one lecture, I heard something really interesting about who these 3 men were and how did they know that Jesus was born. He was born in a very humble manger somewhere in Jerusalem. It said that they followed a star. Now, east of Jerusalem or Israel is basically the Indian subcontinent, right? So the person speaker was saying that it is highly possible that it was someone from India using their astrological and astronomical understanding. They calculated that a great personality was going to be born, and so they came with gifts. Right? Of course, the church doesn't, say anything like that, but it is something to think about. So, anyway, so it says Brahma, who was Swayambhu or self-born, appeared. So how was Brahma self-born? Prabhupada explains in his purport in verse 9 that that he was Swayambhu because he was not born from any material father or mother, but appeared from the lotus from Garbhodakashayi Vishnu's navel, right? And so he also went over to Marichi's, he also went over to Kardama Muni's hermitage along with Marichi and other sages, right? And later we come to hear in later verses that Brahma actually came over, one is to tell them that the Lord has appeared in Devahuti's womb, and also to appreciate Kardama Muni and Devahuti for obeying his instructions and agreeing to be a Prajapati and following his instructions so sincerely. So in verse 10, the translation once again says, O killer of the enemy, the unborn Lord Brahma, who is almost independent in acquiring knowledge, could understand that a portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his quality of pure existence, had appeared in the womb of Devahuti, just to explain the complete state of knowledge known as Sankhya Yoga. So the Sanskrit words that are used to describe Brahma is Vidwan, Aja, and Swarat. And Vidwan means knowing or knowledgeable. Aja is unborn, right, or self-born, like we talked about in the previous verse. And Swarat means independent. Now that is really interesting, right? We know that only the Supreme Lord is fully Swarat. He's independent. Yet this verse is saying that Brahma is Swarat. So, Srila Prabhupada has actually said in various lectures that real independence of a person means being fully dependent on Krishna. Right? So real independence means being fully dependent on Krishna, despite any material condition that a person is in. So if you think about, what was Brahma's material situation when he appeared? We remember, that he found himself on a lotus flower. There was complete darkness all around him. He did not know where he was, who he was, right? He was like, complete bewilderment. He tried to search, right, as to where am I? He went down the lotus stem and tried to, look for what do I need to do, right? He was completely despondent, and he came back because he kept going down and he didn't find anything at all. And then he heard the words tapa, tapa. The waves were beating against the, the lotus flower. And he took that as an instruction from, the higher power, right? And he performed austerity for 100 celestial years. And called out, meditated upon the Lord. And basically, that performance of austerity means calling out to that higher power, calling out to the Lord, that I'm dependent on you, Hey Krishna. You tell me, what can I do? How can I serve you? Right? What do you want me to do? Now, in contrast to that, right, we usually we think of ourselves, anything that we do, we think of ourselves as the doer, right? I know everything. I'm the one who's doing, I'm the achiever. Prakriti Triyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvasha Ahankara Vimuratma Kartahamiti Manyata. Right? That's what we think as the Vimuratma with our false Ahankara Vimuratma, with our false ego, Vimuratma, like super fools, right? That we are. We think that we've done this with our own strength. While the fact is that we cannot take even a single step without being enabled by the Lord. Right? And at every step, we need help. We need help from the Lord, from the devotees, from our Guru. So Brahma, on the other hand, he performed these austerities, focused his mind on the Lord, on Krishna, and as a result of that, he got all this enablement and empowerment and all these abilities to create and recreate the universe, right? So how did he get that? Coming from that despondent position of complete bewilderment of who am I, where am I, so the answer to that is in the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikavaya. Right? It says that the Lord imparted the Vedic knowledge directly unto the heart of Brahmaji, who was the original living being. So in this purport, also Prabhupada says that that's why he that's why Brahma was called Swarat, right? He did not need to have any other teacher because the knowledge was revealed to him within his heart by the Lord himself. And of course, from a practical standpoint, because he was the first living being in the universe, there was no teacher to teach him either. But because of Brahma's dependence on the Lord, full dependence on the Lord, he actually, is called almost independent of Swarat. Right? And the thing for us to take instruction from is, we are also in the Brahma Sampradaya, right? And we have him as the precedent to follow in his footsteps, right? To recognize our dependence on the Lord, on his devotees, his representatives, like our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And by doing so, to somewhat become, independent. Yeah. So coming back to the start of the purport, Prabhupada says that in Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, the Lord has declared that he is the compiler, knower, and of course the knowable of the Vedanta Sutra. And similarly, an Amsa of the Supreme Lord has appeared in Mother Devahuti's womb as Kapila Muni to give the Sankhya philosophy. Now, this is exactly what Kardama Muni has come, that Brahma has come to tell Kardama Muni and Devahuti, right? And we'll hear, all about it in the subsequent verses. So, why is Sankhya Yoga so important, right? Again, there's going to be many, many verses where Mother Devahuti asks, the questions about how can I be liberated from this material existence, and so many other questions to which Kapila Dev is going to, explain the Sankhya Yoga to his mother. But so we'll wait patiently for that. But just a few points of discussion, because it, in the translation, it talks about the Sankhayana being the philosophy of the 24 material elements. So just to take, for today's discussion, just to take a quick look at the 24 material elements that are talked about in the Sankhya philosophy, or that are part of the Sankhya philosophy, are these ones, right? So Sankhya is basically the analytical study of all existence. And it is the knowledge, by which one can get out of material entanglement. And how is that? So if you look at it, you see it talks about these elements. So we know that we are pure spirit souls, right? Or, that's who we really are. But we are covered by so many layers. To start with, the three subtle elements, right? Mind, false ego, and intelligence. Mind, intelligence, false ego. So these are, the first layer. And then we have these working, these senses, right? There are the knowledge acquiring senses and the working senses. And these are used to sense the sense objects. So your is to understand sound, skin, touch, eye, sight, tongue, taste, nose, smell. And then, of course, the 5 working senses. So that is 15 plus 3, 18. And then over that, there are the 5 gross elements which, make our bodies, right? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So these are, additional layers that we have over us. So that is 23. And then Pradhan, which is the unmanifest 3 modes of nature, of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Right? So these are, the various layers that are actually covering us as the jiva, the spirit soul. And Sankhya Yoga gives the knowledge by which we can get out of this material entanglement and awaken our relationship with the Lord. So, so somehow, you know, through all of this, we have to seek out and achieve the goal of devotional service to Krishna. That is the intent of the Sankhya Yoga. Now, of course, in the purport, Prabhupada says that there is an imitation Kapila Deva as well, who has given a Sankhya philosophy, but that is focused only on the material aspect, right? But the Sankhya Yoga that is given by the Lord Himself is the one that is going to be explained in much detail. But just to summarize, in very very high level, that's what it talks about. And so, you know, to revive that relationship with Krishna, right? And because we know that Krishna wants us back, He wants us back in the spiritual world, and as He has come as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally to show us the way, right? He's given us a Maha Mantra, and by reading and studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, we are working our way towards it. So for so many lifetimes, we have turned our backs to Krishna, and in this lifetime, somehow we have come in, by the mercy of Prabhupada, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have come in touch with the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Maha Mantra. So it is, up to us, and I'm saying this really to me, to be sincere, right? And like Brahma has shown us as a precedent, Mother Devahuti and others have shown us in the Bhagavatam, to sincerely try to please Krishna, in this lifetime, and qualify ourselves to go back to Him. So that's all I have, and we're right at 8 a.m. Thank you very much. Sorry if I misspoke anything. Please, if you would like to add or correct, and if you have anything to add. Okay. If not, we will end today. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyascha patitanam papanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Please accept my
Hare
humble
Krishna.
obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept mine.
Very, very nice, detailed class, Mataji. I have to listen to it again because, my mind is all over when I'm doing the morning class. But it was really nice that you connected with, with the, like you gave the examples of Jesus Christ and how the birth was related to, like it would have been, um, what did you say? Like,
The
on
celebration.
the Indian side, yeah, like a saintly person was born, or stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's nice to compare and see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. It is so amazing that it's a universal thing, right?
Yeah.
And that incident of Srila Prabhupada, where he said that, did you see Brahma and Narada?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gives goosebumps. Yeah, it's so amazing.
True,
Yeah.
true, true. And then I was practically relating that to, like that's how it is when we do celebrations, such celebrations, um, even at home or in the temple or whatever. It's basically the consciousness of like these pure devotees who actually feel that, right? Like for us, it's hard to know, but you know how they say, Atiti Deva Bhava, like Krishna could come in any form um, and we just are not conscious enough now at this time to recognize that.
Mhm.
And pure devotees like Prabhupada, like he could just literally, you know,
Yeah.
see it, feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. All we can do is do our part, right?
Yes, yes. Work on our sadhana.
Yeah. That's nice point.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, that was a very nice.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and now Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Mhm.